I never thought escaping the dog pound would be so easy. Little did I know how wrong I was. Yes, that's the way it was. Okay, that's the last time we're doing that joke today. Although I don't see it as a running joke. It's more of a nervous twitch of some kind if you catch my drift. In any case, after getting down inside the dog pound, myself and the rest of the Backstreet Dog gang neglected outside and ourselves at the fact that we may be locked inside the dog pound forever. Now, the boss and Tramp have been scheming a great escape plan in order for us to get out of the dog pound once and for all. Once we get out of the dog pound, we will run all the way to New Borjukes and then hide in the amusement park Baron Saturdays. Baron Saturdays is managed by Richie Duchette and Dixie Maffa, and the boss and Doucette had gone to the community college together, until Doucette was kicked out for jamming a pencil at this port's master's ear. I admit I do wonder what the story was behind that. Butcher and I were disgusted by the fact that the boss had continued to treat Tramp like his own son, despite the realization of him becoming a police informant now being common knowledge. The boss refused to believe that. He asked me, he really wanted me to believe that Tramp was a stoolie and because of some asswipe cop said so? Well, you thought about that, you're a real idiot, Bloom. In fact, even though I was managed to easily escape through this hellhole, the boss has insisted that we do not get ourselves adopted. One time this girl came to see if she could adopt one of us. Me and the rest of the Backstreet Dog gang were all put on display case in front of the girl and her family, including her cynical father, who was heavily involved with lottery rackets or something else. I don't know. In any case, in order to scare the girl from adopting us, we all proceeded to take a dump in the chapter room. Yes, inside the display was a chapter room where you would read the Bible and sing songs about breaking legs over the French crossroads. I would want you to run the hollow. Sorry about that. Still trying to have my best to clean the damn reading glasses as the dogs tend to do, ya know. To make this a long story short, the little girl and her family ended up running all the way home, never to be seen again. Now, how delighted PG tips as the days turned into weeks, and then the weeks slowly turned into months, and I eventually gave up hope and I would never be rescued. However, the fateful day came when we were rescued by the Three Little Pigs. The Three Little Pigs, well, actually, to be fair, they were more accurate, shall we call them, the bootleg Three Little Pigs. They don't look right. Their faces look melted as they were about 6 feet tall. Also, all the Three Little Pigs were heavy drinkers and chain smokers. A straw house pig named Lance and the wood house pig was named Leopold, and lastly, the brick house pig was named Mark. Mark the Park. Lance was the worst offender when it came to the chain and smoking. He smoked so much that he ended up setting fire to his house, made entirely from straw. I think it was from straw anyway, as Lance had purchased the straw from the smelliest farmer you've ever seen. I got the corn, the farmer is saying, as he handed Lance bags upon bags of premium straw. 2 days after building his house, Lance ended up setting his damn thing after dropping 60 cigarettes on the floor. It's a miracle that he was able to survive, really. Leopold lost his, house after he was arrested for tax evasion, as he was trying to avoid paying his taxes. Not because he was also trying so hard to hoard his money. No, it was because he didn't even know what taxes were. Mark was the only pig still to have a home, and even though Lance and Leopold were very rude to their older brother, Mark still looked up to them. Once that was heard, the big bad wolf came back into town. However, the big bad wolf was actually the victim in this situation. He was a debt collector who worked for several companies like HSBC and so forth. I would also like to mention that the big bad wolf suffered from asthma. Due to the asthma, the big bad wolf was never able to be blown down from any of the Three Little Pigs' homes, as he was actually hired by British Gas and was trying to collect the big gas bill from the pigs. That was the real reason behind the big bad wolf's pursuit of the Three Little Pigs. Eventually, as the story goes, the pigs tricked the wolf into climbing down the chimney, where he fell into a pot of boiling water and was burnt to death. A mouse that had a severe nose injury reported the murder to CLPD, and the Three Little Pigs were brought in front of unforgiving jury. Although the people intentionally spoke out of the defense for the Free Little Pigs, and time went on more and more details until it came about the incident. Actually, the Free Little Pigs confessed about a conspiracy to commit tax fraud, where they were murdered the wolf in an attempt to cover the tracks. But sadly, the international in 1757 had gone primary school with the wolf, and knew that there was no way the wolf would have blown down those free houses down. He had an asthma, for crying out loud. The charges were eventually dropped following the Free Little Pigs' decision to donate €6 million to the Wolf Crisis Center in Empire Bay, which was launched by Wilfred Rowe Wolf, who was an old friend of the Big Bad Wolf. Because, well, why wouldn't he be? The Free Little Pigs, who I should probably mention, were incredibly German. Like also German, it makes my doggy stomach hurt so much that it could also be the raw steak of lamb shab that I had at that Brazilian restaurant back in 2011. The staff at the restaurant were very nice, but the meat was gray and lumpy. Ew, chew the stew. Also, how should I suggest we escape? I inquired. Very simple, Lance said. Before continuing with, you just dig a little deeper, and it ain't really that far. And yes, as it turns out, the cells in the dog pound were massive holes on the ground which led to the mines of pine. Once inside the mines of pine, using the fire exit, you would be able to escape back onto the streets of Oakton City. Also, you could go against better my judgment. I asked, are you sure? Leopold then turned to face me with slowly smoking a cigarette and said, stop asking such annoying questions and get down there, that damn hole, doggy. Before I had the chance to complain over Leopold's harsh comment, I had really been thrown down the hole by a butcher, who took a crap on my head. What on earth did you even do that for, butcher? The boss questioned, though I couldn't really tell curious of sense since he found this situation to be really amusing indeed. I needed to take a dump, and I didn't quite make it to the courtyard, Butch admitted it. Well, you didn't even bother going to the courtyards, you bloody stupid bulldog. But before the dog pound's guards and owners, Castor and Pollux could even realize we were escaping, we were very long. We ran down the streets of Octane, and while the super music played in the background. Well, I would say run, but truth be told, I was actually more of a stroll than there was no chance in Octane and I'm running. Not as young as I used to be, you know. Anyways, before heading to the new Bordeaux, the boss suggested hiding at the old abandoned disco club and Edbrook in order to wait for the heat to die down. We knew that very well that Castor and Bullocks would have connections to the Oakton City Police Department, and we truly knew very well that the police would feel no qualms in taking back the dog pound in order to learn a lesson from the manners, or some crap. I don't even know. Nor did I ever dismay, certainly in my utter dismay anyway, we learned that from the disco club was a course ran by none other than Disco Stew. Disco Stew, or should I have known, whose feet have been guilty with got no rhythm. But I know he's not a fool. I know because Disco Stew had fish shoes, which were shoes that had fish inside them. Sadly, the fish were long dead, but Disco Stew just couldn't make it to the damn shoes off, Butcher said. How long do we have to hide out here? Just for tonight. We have a confirmation that the OCPD won't become chasing after us once Castor and Pollux informed of our great escape, the boss explained. To help pass the time, Disco Stew suggested watching some Disney Plus. Sure, sounds good to me, Lance said, while he was smoking 90 cigarettes at once. Told you he was a chain smoker. Didn't I get my pork? Disco Stew exited out of the room, twerking as he did so. Oh yeah, Disco Stew said, as he tweaked his way out of the room. He eventually came back 2 seconds later, carrying a laptop which was covered in smelly bacon sauce. What the crap is even bacon sauce? Well, I wouldn't know, seriously. I don't know why you're asking me that for. Ask the dishes. They could sing and dance at this Oakton City. Disco Stew then began dancing towards a smelly workable, and then he placed the laptop onto. Disney Plus, man, that site has bad business. Now, I must myself warn you that the brand, the new Pixar movie Soul, but Disco Stew wasn't having any of it either, I tell you. Neither was my associates, as Lance smoked a massive cigarette and he said, we're watching something traditional German values. Excuse me, I asked. I was like some kind of Arthur Morgan as Disco Stew, and the boss started scanning through Disney Plus until they eventually settled upon watching My Friends Tigger and Pooh. Why? Something I would have mentioned during my recount of that horrid American Dad episode. The boss who loves Winnie the Pooh is known for being the biggest Winnie the Pooh fan of all Octagon. Well, back then we were still living in the junkyard. The boss declared his den to have loads of Winnie the Pooh merchandise, including unlicensed Disney products based on the brands like Winnie the Pooh Flamethrower, Owl's Patterned Bowel Softener, Rabbit Toes, even electric magnet pulsar sensor, aerodynamic shaped like a nose of Pooh's honey dealer. Yeah, Pooh is a honey dealer. And look it up, it's the official Winnie the Pooh strategy guide, which no one ever displays of this details on Eeyore's blood transfusion and Rabbit's robbing the counterfeit plates as a federal revenue. Of course, Rabbit wants those damn plates to build a casino over the new Burex and just to make the city Las Vegas in the South. I heard Spider-Man was there. Cue the sinister music. My Friends Tigger and Pooh is a horrid show which was created by Playhouse Disney, or Disney Junior as they are known to, around 2007 or thereabouts. The show was extremely popular, lasted until 2010, after some old bastard by the name of Colonel Bolo made a disgusting episode that results in the show getting cancelled, and Playhouse Disney changed into Playhouse Disney Junior. No wonder why that story was behind it, wink. I need to get something off my chest before we begin. That show might be just the worst thing that Disney has ever made. Yes, even worse than Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, Handy Mandy, PJ's Bedtime, Lab Rats, Mr. Young, and so many others. I'm not going to bother explaining the lore of My Friends Tigger and Pooh, because to be quite frank with you all, I haven't got the time, have you? Yeah, that's right, I thought so, Anyways, Disco Stew and the boss scanned through the various episodes on Disney Plus until they reached an episode that apparently the boss had never seen before. The episode was called Christopher Robin, You've Changed. The teaser image of the episode showed Christopher Robin, who was now an adult, wearing a nice suit, dancing with Pooh Bear, and many of the other characters were cheering in the background. The description of the episode read, "A never-before-seen season finale of the unclaimed children's TV show, My Friends Tigger and Pooh. Christopher Robin finally returns to the 100-acre wood after spending 17 years in New York City. He is an incredibly powerful man under the tutelage of the Kronsgun generation, Chuck Long. Now, upon reuniting with his former owner, Winnie the Pooh and his friends, including Eeyore, began to ponder about Christopher Robin is the same person as he used to be, or if there's a shadow hanging over him. I must admit my curiosity had peaked, and I had no idea what this show was as it was released for the final episode. So I demanded that Disco Stew clicked on the episode to play. Disco Stew needs you, Disco Stew said as he slammed his finger down on the spacebar, allowing for the episode to begin. The theme song wasn't completely quite right. No, it was completely wrong, as a matter of fact. For starters, the intro was incredibly slow, and Darby's singing voice sounded like a 96-year-old man who has no ears but seems to have a lot of ears. During that part where Darby rides down the hill on her motorbike, she ends up crashing into a tree, causing a massive explosion. Next came during the segment of the theme song where Darby, Pooh, Tigger, Eeyore, Rabbit, and so many others were walking around the 100-acre wood with all the music in the background, was replaced with giant fart noises. They were so bloody loud that it caused my reading glasses to shatter into many million tiny bite-sized pieces. I was, however, fortunate enough that I have a spare time for these like this. Lastly, when Pooh and Tigger appeared in front of the show, Pooh caused all the letters to collapse on top of Darby, crushing her in the death in the process. Pooh said, "Oh, bothering Buggerton," as the episode then started with a title card, which read, "Christopher Robin, You've Changed," only the title card wasn't read by Darby, as it normally would do. No, it sounded like it was read by Paul O'Grady. Pooh and his friends were getting the 100-acre wood set up for a big welcome back party for Christopher Robin. "I can't believe it," Darby said before continuing with, "After 17 years, Christopher Robin is finally coming back from New York City." "Yeah, and I can't believe it's been that long already," Tigger said, while licking the paper plates for some reason. The party looked very childish as Pooh and the gang did not seem to realize that Christopher Robin was now an adult. There was no food, well, the only thing being edible was a table, was a pot of honey. Upon seeing the aforementioned pot of honey, Pooh had been busy getting the party hats from his house, leaped onto the table, and jumped inside the honey pot. The pot was huge and Pooh's fit right in there. Pooh then came out on top of the honey pot, pulling out an incredibly smelly face. He was also wearing a bathing suit, which the colors were black and yellow, like an old bumblebee. "Oh, Pooh, isn't that not sanitary?" Rabbit said, as his red and white limos then pulled onto the pavement. Pooh then got out of his honey pot and cleaned himself up with the towel that Piglet had lent him. A man wearing a nice business suit, looked like he was in his early to mid-20s, got out of the car. It was Christopher Robin. Christopher Robin looked much older. I think out of context of the show, he was about 10 years old, which means that he would have been 22 years old during this encounter. Yet he looked much older. He had stress marks on his face, and he looked like he was in his late 40s. His hair was also jet black. If you zoomed in on his hair by at least almost over 9,000, you could see jumbled jets just sitting there. Christopher Robin gave Winnie the Pooh Bear a hug when you saw and recognized him and recreated the teaser picture that we talked about earlier. Remember that? "Hiya, Pooh. How are you doing?" Christopher Robin asked. However, Pooh could speak was interrupted by Darby, who said rather rudely, "Oh, don't talk to him, Chris. He's a carpet bagger. I vomited all over Disco Stew's afro. Not to mention of the swearing. No, my friends, I vomited because Darby brought up the fact that it's been years before the events of my friends Tigger and Pooh used to have bag carpets for an incredibly sinister golfer who was willingly, while you're very friendly to Winnie the Pooh, was actually very super special. That's just sick, Darby. What are you doing here?" Christopher Robin asked, much to Darby responded with, "You left me in charge of Pooh and the gang, remember?" According to Christopher Robin, the time worked very differently in the 100-Acre Wood was still compared to the real world. Well, in the 100-Acre Wood, there wasn't really a thing per se. Yes, days still passed by, but no one really aged as if this was some kind of perjury. This helped to explain the context on why Darby was like 6 years old and Christopher Robin was in his mid to late 20s. In the regular Earth moved quicker as the reason why Christopher Robin had aged so quickly in between the episode and his last appearance on the show. Upon hearing what Darby had to say, Christopher Robin's face became red in fury and he asks, "I, Christopher Robin, would like to do such a thing like that?" Darby was cut off when she was being grabbed by the neck by Christopher Robin. He held Darby high into the afternoon sky and yelled, You think you're the crap, Darby? But yet you're not." And with that, Christopher Robin proceeded to throw Darby across the 100-Acre Wood. And he laughed menacingly as Darby flew all the way past the gates of Graceland and landed right in the middle of a grave where a tombstone had a picture of the original Xbox on it. I mean, how could that be anything other than the political statement? At that, other than the man who got into the limousine, had introduced himself as Congressman Chuck Long. Chuck Long was a fat piece of garbage who was sitting and eating a big roast dinner when he got out from the limo. He then made his way over to Christopher Robin and asked, "Have you informed me that your friends hear the bill, Chris?" "No, not yet, Mr. Long," Christopher Robin admitted it. "Well, get it on with it, will ya? We need to be back at the Washington before sundown. The president wants to talk to you about the hills in Montauk or some crap like that. I don't even know, but it sounds important." "Well, what's going on here with that bill?" Rabbit asked as he was busy playing Angry Birds. Sitting down at the head of the birthday table, Christopher Robin explained how he is a respected member of a Congress who had trained to extensionally under Congressman Long. He told Pooh and the gang that Congressman Long had been gotten a bill signed by the United States government. The bill gave Long permission to demolish the 100-Acre Wood in order to build a KFC. Just one KFC right in the very center of the woods. However, this KFC would be the only KFC in the world to include a super long burger, which was the burger that had the shape of a patty. The Congressman's Long's face was also filled with onion sauce. Onion sauce! Sorry for mentioning of onion sauce. It brings me back memories when I accidentally threw a jar of onion sauce on the ground while shopping at my local Tesco. Christopher Robin explained that a lot of the influence from the crime family who wished to open up Casino Slap Bang was in the foundation of Pooh's home. "Why would you want to destroy the lovely 100-Acre Wood, Christopher Robin?" Owl asked. Well, F you, Christopher Robin said, as he pulled out a shotgun and shot Owl with it. Owl didn't die, however. Instead, he collapsed in a pile of leaves and said, I'm okay. You must have a cold, Pooh remarked. The sheer stupidity of Pooh's remark was enough to make Owl die on the spot. Great going, Pooh. According to some flashbacks that were shown, Christopher Robin had grown tired of visiting the 100-acre wood, and so with permission from family and friend Leo Gladney, Christopher Robin moved to New York, where he attended Fordham University. After leaving Fordham, Christopher Robin infuriated Congress by the means of several betrayals and manipulations. He was able to get the Congressman Long's good books by showing him how to was like to shoot Chocolate Bunny named Lance Chance with a handgun. The Chocolate Bunny was actually a real bunny, but it was shown no fear despite having to be loaded handgun while pointed at its little head. Christopher Robin was able to get even better relationship with Lon after performing an incredibly cringe-worthy dance. That was so he kept it at Lon vomiting out of his nose. In order to stop the young man from possibly killing him with his horrid dancing, Congress Lon offered the young Christopher Robin a highly important job in the Congress. Christopher Robin's first job was to tear down the 100-acre wood so they could build Lon's KFC there, and so on and so forth. After the flashbacks ended, Pooh went away to go say something, but the episode cut to a black and came to a really weird clip. Well, two weird clips, actually. The first clip had some pigeons, I think, singing an incredibly smelly song. The smelliest song you'll ever hear. Honest to Otter, the song was so smelly it made my eyes turn green, and I began to vomiting out some nose hair. It was another story entirely. Oh, wicketers, would someone please pass me those damn pigeons into a roast dinner already? Finally, the second last voice clip showed red and yellow M&Ms outside in a local place in Oakton. The red was about to eat an M&M ice cream when the yellow one noticed that the ice cream looked awful. Not that it doesn't like him. Hey, that ice cream looks just like you, Yellow proclaimed happily, which Red bluntly replied with, No, it doesn't. Needing to prove a point, Yellow removed Red's eyes and placed them onto the ice cream so that Red would be able to compare the ice cream to his own body. Maybe a little, Red admitted. Then he started screaming in agony after realizing that Yellow had removed his eyes from him. What sick, twisted M&M that Yellow? After the clips ended. Once the two clips ended, Pooh was shown trying his best to get Christopher Robin to reconsider his decision to destroy the homes of so many. But Christopher Robin had changed. He was now a cruel man, and he ordered his henchmen, who were very big and beefy-looking street enforcers, to set Pooh on fire. Christopher Robin and Congress Lawn had made their departure since the limousine from earlier, but Pooh was able to overpower the enforcers by eating them because bears are monsters now, you know? The Winnie the Pooh is no exception in this role. In this case, Pooh had spent the remainder of the afternoon discussing about what to do at Pooh. But none of the seriousness, Pooh and his friends had discussed what about to do with Christopher Robin's evil plan. I suppose we could just move to Empire Bay, Piglet suggested. Don't be silly, Piglet. That's exactly what those sissies want us to do, Pooh said, rather a nasty tone. So I guess the animation wasn't finished for the episode, because at this point, Pooh was not animated. All of the characters were animated, but Pooh for some reason wasn't. It was now just some random dealer inside Winnie the Pooh costume, which had to come in a set which he never released a horror movie entitled The Pooh Bear Man. Winnie the Pooh costume looked bloodied and horrendous as the actor's eyes were bulging out, like some kind of Luca Barsi. And yet, here we are. Not wanting to lose any more home from that asswipe congressman, Pooh and the other residents of the 100-acre wood, including Kanga and Little Roo, decided to make a petition. They believed that the petition would somehow convince Congressman Long not to go ahead and demolish the 100-acre wood. Piglet created this petition, and the gang went around the entire woods asking people to sign their petition. Pooh and Piglet even made a quick visit to their local church, where they attempted to get Father James to sign the petition. I ain't talking to you, Father James barked up to Piglet, who wasn't very good priest at Father James, as he smoked like 50 cigarettes and drank 12 kegs of beer each and every day. Though it looked like an awful lot Morgan Freeman in his younger years, so perhaps that maybe he said the society is to blame. In fact, in any case, Father James eventually agreed to sign the petition once he recalled Pooh had helped with the construction of the church many moons ago. Even longer now what it seems. So sad. After finishing up the petition, Pooh decided to present the petition to King Henry IV as a self-described ruler of the 100-acre wood. King Henry IV, despite his name, was not the real king of the same name. He was just incredibly fat and also lazy. He required people to bathe him because he just couldn't bear the thought of doing it himself. So he treated the scene like which was featured an old butler scrubbing Henry's back as he said, "Ah, I need some cheese. Remind me to check." Ah, finally, my friends, Tigger and Pooh episode with the bathing of the King Henry part. Perhaps the most important part of all. Pooh presented his petition to King Henry, who grinned ear to ear upon seeing it. However, that's when King Henry made a very shocking revolution. He could not read a word out of it. It was mainly because Piglet's handwriting was so atrocious that he had written this documentary in strawberry jam, which disgusted King Henry, as he would have preferred it to be documented by Polstent. But most of the dreams to come true. Before making their departure in the castle, which was this really underground bunker in the deep of the heart of the 100-acre wood, King Henry suggested that Pooh and his friends chain themselves in front of 100-acre wood so the Congressman Long and Christopher Robin will have to look elsewhere before building their KFC on the land. They didn't even seem to own the land, King Henry admitted, before he continued with, "That all belongs to Remy Duval. He's a big shot of the 100-acre wood radio. Without him, there's no KFC." In that evening, Tigger paid a visit to Remy Duval's residence and asked Duval's help in signing the warrant against the Congress. "I'll strangle that son of a gun," Duval yelled at the top of his lungs. Duval was a very childhood friend of Christopher Robin, but sadly the pair lived in a very different life. Once Duval became the leader of the 100-acre Wood Union, the Wood Union was somehow really scary people who liked to kidnap and kill stuffed animals like Tigger and his friends. However, Duval didn't wish to kill Tigger and his friends as getting paid a great deal of can of bread and cans to help with the affairs. And so that evening, Remy Duval and Tigger had discussed their affairs over the bowl of Christopher Robin's punch. "This punch tastes really musky," Tigger cried in disgust as he spat the punch all over Duval's ear. An ear for an ear, as the following day after meeting with Duval, Tigger brought back up the word to Pooh and the others that they would be chaining themselves in the trees of 100-acre wood in order to prevent Christopher Robin from tearing down their homes. Pooh and his friends finished chaining themselves up as Christopher Robin and the Congressman Long appeared on the scene. Christopher Robin and his construction team were horrified to see Pooh and his friends chain themselves in the trees, like tree huggers as they were, and of course the Congressman Long was very angry when he saw Pooh and his friends had done, and they threatened to impose the martial law onto the 100-acre wood as they had a good relationship with the General Asquith and British Armed Forces. That many great of the soldiers were on Long's payroll for the big money because he was a very big piece of garbage after all. Congressman Long always was a man looking for a bargain to try his best to buy off Winnie the Pooh and a pot of crystal honey from the Isis of Crystal. "And who needs crystal ass if you have a sweeter for the docks?" Pooh sang. "He's got a point, Chucky," Christopher Robin said, as he started to rub Long's shoulder for an uncomfortable amount of time. "Don't Chucky me, Chris. The deal's off. I'll be taking that $10 billion bond from you, and I will also be stripping you from the title of Congressman," Congressman Long admitted before beginning to make his own way to the street, with farting violently as he did so. However, it wasn't until Christopher Robin, who ended up getting the last laugh from the congressman, ran over the bus that was driven by Freddy Krueger. "Oh, dancing down the street when the bus was in motion," Freddy Krueger proclaimed, as he made his trademark laugh. Krueger then proceeded to drive the bus into the sunset while the song Ocean Drive by Lighthouse Family began to play in the background. Somehow Pooh and the others were able to unchain themselves from the trees and go to consult Christopher Robin, but he ended up losing his crap in a way that made him never seen before. Christopher Robin Falcon punched Pooh in the face by pulling out a lighter, and "Christopher Robin, what are you doing with the lighter?" Piglet asked timidly, as Christopher Robin said evilly, "You ain't that lucky, friends." He then proceeded to throw a lighter right at Pooh, causing Pooh and the others, who were made from highly flammable material, and they end up catching on fire. Within seconds, the whole entire 100-acre wood had been engulfed into a huge pit of fire. Pooh was no more satisfied. Christopher Robin decided to not call the Congressman Long to inform his development, and he also made sure to kill the entire construction company so that no one could report this affair to the NYPD. And with Pooh and his friends dead, Christopher Robin took control of the newly renamed Christopher Robin City. How original. He spat on Pooh's grave one last time before building up a casino on top of the rubble of Pooh's old home. 2 years later, Christopher Robin opened another casino, and then it just became an avalanche of developments. A new convention center, a shopping center, and even a Chips Ahoy rehab center. Today, everyone knows the 100-acre wood as Las Vegas of woods, and Christopher Robin, yeah, he still lives in a penthouse suite at the top of the casino, looking out of his city as he owns. The episode then just ended with the normal credits. However, there was a post-credit scene what seemed to be like mocking the Sonic Says segment from the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog series. And after the credits scene, Pooh was trying to educate the viewers about strangers. What is a stranger, you ask? Well, you can go on Google and look it up yourself, you sissy, Pooh said. After we got done watching the episode, we were surprised to learn from that episode was another episode on Disney Plus, which have never been seen before. According to the description on Disney Plus, the episode had been banned over 9,000 times, and the episode was entitled Busting a Bus. We clicked on it and it was even worse than the previous episode. The episode was about Pooh and the gang delivering some drugs to Christopher Robin and talking about sticking stuff out of the window. I need something that can hold a lot of diarrhea, Eeyore said in one point of the episode. Oh, that was it. Having enough, I threw the dog biscuit right at the screen of the laptop, which caused it to explode in many tiny bite pieces. That pass must have been I paid for. I always say. Anyways, after watching the episode, Leopold kicked Disco Stew in the thin air, which caused him to fall on the floor as he cried in pain. Disco Stew needs a doctor. Before Disco Stew had a chance to call the dog pound on us, we already escaped from the disco club. Outside the disco club, myself and the Backstreet Dog Gang and the Three Little Pigs proceeded to run all the way to New Brooks. New Brooks was roughly about 72 hours or something away from Oakton City. We were able to get in there in 2 seconds flat because we entered a portal to get there in time. Upon reaching the New Brooks, the Backstreet Dog Gang and I set up a residence in Barron Saturdays, where the Three Little Pigs worked as cynical property developers, and they were supported their affairs by Don Sal, Marcano of the Marcano crime family. Marcano allowed the trio to take control of the Hollow. I want you two to leave the Hollow, Marcano proclaimed, a little too happy for my dog guts to be able to handle. But yet again, as a dog, I feel that it would be unwise to make comments like that. Bollocks. With permission from Marco, Lance opened up a cigarette club over in the French ward, and the club was exclusive to all the pigs of New Brooks. And that's because New Brooks was the name of the massive pig infestation, it meant that Lance had a lot of customers, although he wasn't a pig. Sal's brother, Uncle Lou, was also a frequent customer at Lance's club. Because why wouldn't he be? It's Uncle Lou after all. At the Barron Saturdays, we were able to kick the Dixie Meffa out due to being deathly afraid of dogs. Richie Doucette wasn't afraid of dogs, but we managed to get rid of him quickly by hanging them on a Ferris wheel. Decent thing would do for a man of prayer before you kill him. Doucette pleaded and removed Tramp from unresponded with, "You can pray on the way up." Doucette began to manage to escape the Ferris wheel by leaping onto a truck carrying stacks and stacks of freshly cooked hay. Well, isn't that swell? So Doucette and Dixie Meffa out of the way, the Backstreet Dog Gang took control of the amusement park. And while in the New Brooks, our gang was able to prosper once again. And although still not very powerful, I still a little confident on knowing how much longer we'd be able to live under these watchful eyes of Castor Pollux. That my friends Tigger and Pooh might have just saved our lives in more ways than one. I should also mention a few days after arriving in New Brooks, I also attempt to look for the 2 new episodes on Disney Plus, but they have been removed. That was the crap that Mickey Mouse was playing at. The word may never know. Goodbye for now, readers. And that, my little pretties, was Christopher Robin, You've Changed, a My Friends Tigger and Pooh lost episode funny pasta. Was written none other than Matthew Bumford. Matthew Bumford, I want to say thank you so much for writing this story. Thank you so much for sending this to me. This was appreciated. I really appreciate you writing this story. So, my final thoughts on this story. I remember I narrated My Friends Tigger and Pooh pasta, I believe, in 2019. And I narrated almost a year ago, which it was a big day for Pooh. So the last time I read that one was about 10 months ago, so it was like almost a year ago. But I could definitely say I remember reading that episode. This one, on the other hand, was pretty funny. I honestly found this one to be a really good funny pasta. It was hilarious. It had really good enjoyability. I honestly really liked how this went out. It was flat out funny. Like this episode, I really appreciate Matthew Bumford for reading this, which I could definitely say was, oh my goodness, it was really good. And it was really funny, to be honest. I really have to say that this story was obviously pretty funny, to be completely and utterly honest. So I definitely have to say that this one was pretty well made in detail. There was like a lot of time and effort into the story, so I really have to say I really liked it, to be completely honest. I really, really, really liked it. It was flat out amazing, flat out awesome. Definitely really have to say that this was actually a pretty good story. I really do appreciate the good grammar in this story and the sentence structure and all that. So that's one thing I could definitely say I really liked. But I also really liked how the episode went out. It was pretty funny, to be honest. There was like parts of it that I know it didn't really make sense at certain parts, but it was still pretty funny. I still have to say it was really funny. And to be honest, I actually found this story to be really enjoyable, so that's actually one of the reasons why I actually found this story to be rather cool. Now, I have not watched My Friends Tigger and Pooh in a long time. I think I kind of mentioned that when I read another episode of it. I think that was a big day for Pooh. I kind of remembered mentioning that I watched this show as a kid. But I guess since this is a funny pasta, this review is not very long, as there's nothing really much to say about it. Can't really find anything I don't like about this story, but I really have to say it's a pretty funny pasta. It's a really well made one. And anyways, with that being the case, and with that being said, this is just simply my own personal opinion, and if you happen to disagree with me, that's fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions in regards to these creepy pastas or funny pastas, whatever you prefer to call this one. And this is simply my own personal thoughts. My final rating of this story would have to be a 10 out of 10. Really good funny pasta. It was amazing. Really well done. I really found this story to be rather enjoyable. It actually played a pretty good concept. And if this episode was ever made, I would have no doubt that this episode would get removed. There was no doubt that it would get removed for the content that is in it. But it's still a pretty good funny pasta. Anyways, with that being the case, and with that being said, what did you guys think about this funny pasta? Did you all enjoy it? Did you not? Also, what we have done personally to help make this story a lot better? Leave me know your thoughts down in the comment section down below. I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. And if you happen to be brand new here on this channel, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, because I make brand new videos every single day. Don't forget to ring the notification bell to when I upload, so then you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, please roll the outro, because I'm out.